Okay, TV fans, Golden Globe nominations came out today for the 2017 award show, and we're here with Chris Beecham, Daniel Montgomery, and Zach Laws. We're going to talk about the shocking snubs and all of the nice surprises that got in. One of the biggest snubs, I would say, Daniel, if you maybe would agree with me or not, would be Mr. Robot did not get into Best Drama Series. It won last year, but you did not predict it. So how did you know that it would be snubbed?
Well, I just kind of used the usual Golden Globe math. It's a beloved first year show. Second year, it's like, oh, we've forgotten about you. I mean, the Golden Globes are very fickle that way. There were a lot of new shows coming in. The second season wasn't as well received as the first. It was a bit of an uneven season. So I thought with so many new shows coming in, as they did get in, like four of the nominees are brand new shows. I figured, I don't think they're going to keep it in with these kinds of these hot new shows waiting in the wings.
So Daniel, you think Mr. Robot was terrible. Zach, what do you think?
Well, I predicted Mr. Robot would get snubbed as well, although I have to admit it was just a little bit by chance because using the same logic that Daniel uses, that the Globes are all about rewarding new shows and kind of older shows become sort of an afterthought in their nominating. I just picked, okay, well, they're going to go with Westworld because that's brand new. They're going to go with The Crown because that's brand new. They're going to go with Stranger Things, that's brand new. And so picking all these shows, I just ended up leaving out Mr. Robot. And again, I mean, I guess it is, the response to it was a bit more uneven this season than it was last season, where it was pretty much uniformly praised by critics and audiences. This season was a little bit tougher to wrap your head around. So that's why I predicted it wouldn't get nominated.
And Chris, months ago, you told me the show called The Crown would win at the Golden Globes. And I'm like, what's The Crown? What are you talking about? So you knew this, what, August, that this would get in?
It just felt right. I mean, it's Downton Abbey meets House of Cards. I mean, it just feels like a Golden Globe kind of a show. I thought even Matt Smith would get in. Claire got in, and John Lithgow got in. So yeah, that's what I've got right now in my number one position, which we've got the new event, the winners event, up and running, so people can vote or make their predictions. I also did not have Mr. Robot in. I was just looking to make sure. My on TV only, and then this just for this one group. My thinking every year is, okay, what all new shows seem like Golden Globe shows? And in this case, there were 4. I'm like, well, that leaves one slot for something from last year, and I've debated whether to take out Game of Thrones, which I've never really liked, or Mr. Robot, and I wound up leaving Game of Thrones in just because they also don't like being embarrassed. They don't like an Emmy award-winning show to be like out of the running with them over and over again. So that's why I took Mr. Robot out. None of last year's drama winners are back.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
John Hamm couldn't be back, and then Mr. Robot's gone, and Taraji's gone.
Wow. I didn't even realize that. Wow.
I guess you could count Christian Slater in a way because he's over in supporting, but that's all kinds of genres, but Maura Tierney's gone. So
it's been a bad morning for Taraji P. Henson between Empire and Hidden Figures.
See, my whole thinking was I had her in for a while, and then I thought they don't like to do double nominations too often. So I thought, okay, Taraji's definitely getting in on film, so I will definitely take her out on TV. They'll have like an escape clause to remove her on the TV side.
That's what they did to Viola.
That's what they did to Viola, exactly.
We always talk about the apple in the barrel of oranges. Game of Thrones is the only returning show. Does that gives it like this special narrative that it has going forward at the Globes? Is that lucky it, or I know I'm going with The Crown.
Yeah, I'm going with The Crown too. I don't think it doesn't really. I mean, it might have a narrative like, oh, the Golden Globes have never awarded it. I don't think anyone even knows that. I mean, it's won so many awards at so many different events. that I don't know if anyone has really noticed that it hasn't won the Golden Globe. And
I think they noticed those sorts of things. We
Yeah.
all felt that coming with Breaking Bad, where they did not like that show. They never liked that show from the minute it started until like the last season. I think they got guilted into liking it. Like, okay, we don't want to look like fools here. We better reward this show eventually. So with 4 new shows, that could be the case with Game of Thrones. I think if they were going that route, though, we would have seen Kit Harington in. I really do.
Oh, that was a huge.
I think Game of Thrones might have that narrative by the time it ends at the Golden Globes, but yeah, if this were the year where they're like, we're going to make it up to Game of Thrones, they would have done better than just Lena Headey in the supporting race.
Right.
Yeah. You are right about one thing, though, Chris, and that is that with 4 brand new shows and 4 shows that are very highly touted, it may actually work in Game of Thrones' favor in like a vote splitting scenario. You know, if so many people vote for the Crown and so many people vote for Westworld and on and on.
I think we get a tip here, though. 2 acting nominations for the Crown, 2 for This Is Us, 2 for Westworld, just 1 for Stranger Things. No Millie. A lot of people were predicting Millie to win. I did have her in there, but I was always skeptical. They don't like kids nearly as much as at the Globes as they do some other places. I mean, Emmys are even worse, but even
They don't
Oscars
like kids as much as Jared from Subway. Is that what you're saying?
Ooh. You know, we're sponsored by Subway, Marcus. You don't need to.
But no, when I saw Millie was snubbed, I said, you know, I actually had Stranger Things in 5th place in my predictions. You know, the predictions I just made for the winners event.
I think you might be right, because I think Winona is just one of that she's been nominated a few times over the years. I don't. If you've ever met these people, Stranger Things does not feel like a show they would like. Like they felt like they needed to nominate it because they were supposed to nominate it.
Mm-hmm.
What about actor and actress, Daniel? What are you going with? Rami Malek? There's something very interesting I noticed, that none of the 5 drama actor nominees have a show that's nominated. So usually you can, you're helped in your predictions if one of the guys has a show, but since none of them do, it's kind of open season. So I'm going with Rami Malek, because kind of like the makeup nomination, because he lost last year.
I put Rami Malek, like, when I made my predictions, I was looking at this category and I was trying to figure out who to slide over first, and I was just like, I mean, all of you had just as many cons as pros in terms of Golden Globe predictions. None of their shows are up for series. So yeah, I put in Rami Malek by default, but I mean, keep an eye on the only first-year show, and we know how much they love these, in this category is Goliath. And how much they love movie stars who do TV, and that's Billy Bob Thornton. So really watch out for that nomination and watch out for him potentially to win in that. And then you've got Bob Odenkirk, who just won Critics' Choice. Matthew Rhys, Americans is having its big banner year. Maybe he slides in. But yeah, this feels, honestly, any of these 5, I think, have a chance to win. But I think it's going to come down to Malek, Odenkirk, and Thornton. I'm really tempted to put in Billy Thornton there.
I think that one's easy. That one, Zach, you go ahead, because Rami Malek's winning that. I've said that since pretty much last January. Like, it just felt like they had to do something with John Hamm. He had won before, but it was the strike year, and they didn't get to present it to him. And nobody was predicting him hardly. We all had Rami Malek. And now that Rami's even won the Emmy, I just feel like even more so, because I can't even imagine who's in second place there. I mean, it's just it looks like Rami and then a bunch of people.
Well, I mean, just looking at the list of nominees, I wouldn't count out Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, the guy is the only Academy Award-winning movie star in the bunch.
He just won a year and a half, 2 years ago on Fargo. So
that could,
They don't go back to the well too often on most people.
Well, I mean, they could go back to it again. But
They haven't even
was
seen Goliath. They haven't even seen that
They
show.
saw it enough to nominate him.
They did not. He came and did a luncheon with them.
Honestly, like, this is
Got my vote, Billy Bob.
the Hollywood Foreign Press. We know they don't have to have seen the show if they like you at a party. So that doesn't preclude him from winning.
This is a tough category. I mean, I'm just because none of them have a show that's nominated.
It's not a tough category. Don't overdo this one, because there are some difficult categories, but this is not one of them.
This is similar to the Maura Tierney situation where, her show The Affair won, and then the next year the show was snubbed, but she won. So it's kind of like they still loved the show enough to give it an acting prize, but maybe The Affair was 6th place last year. Maybe Mr. Robot is 6th place this year, so they still like it.
That's a good point. I mean, Christian Slater did get in as well, so
that's true.
They don't. It's not as if they suddenly decided to hate the show.
Right.
They could have just barely missed out.
And then for actress, I know Evan Rachel Wood won last night at the Critics' Choice Awards, but this feels like a Claire Foy situation to me, where The Crown will win and she will win. But I also have John Lithgow winning and supporting, so I don't know if it's going to take 3.
Yeah,
this one is tough.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I put in Claire Foy and then decided that John Lithgow would be the one who doesn't win. But you're right, he could win that supporting category. So it's kind of hard. Like it feels a little bit easier to me. I mean, this is not only a Best Drama Series nominee, but it's this the Hollywood Foreign Press Association giving it to this a British actress on this international show, which makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if they'll give it 3, and they might decide to give it Lithgow instead. So if they do that, then that would clear a path for Evan Rachel Wood.
Just looking at the list of the 5 nominees, I think Claire Foy seems like the most obvious one, given what we've all the things that we've just said. It seems like a classic Golden Globe winning performance. It's classy. It's in a show that they're probably going to reward. But at the same time, you could say the same thing about Evan Rachel Wood in Westworld. I mean, what if we're underestimating that to win drama series? I guess you could make.
If they are spreading the wealth, I think Westworld will win for Tandy Newton and supporting. And so this may be the only place they could give Stranger Things something.
I don't think they care enough. I like without Millie Bobby Brown in there, I think it's only nominated twice. I don't think there's going to be a lot of urgency that it needs to win something. Yeah, I'm okay saying that Stranger Things might not win anything this year.
Right. And Homeland won 3, X-Files won 3. It does happen. So I may just go, in a crown sweep. Why not?
It's a tough. We haven't even mentioned Katrina Balfe. Could be the same exact situation as Rami. It was up for drama series last year, didn't win anything. She slips through and wins this year. She's the only nominee. It's a European show. We're talking about the foreign press. I'm sure, just like with us, she gives them great interviews and goes out of her way to be charming. I mean, that's not out of the question.
And they would
especially if they do wind up spreading the wealth, because I got Tandy winning supporting as well. She's just a perfect contender for them with her background and being basically a film star as well. That one feels right to me. And Evan and Tandy could win, but I don't know. I've got Evan in first right now in this category.
Should we talk about the comedy races?
Yes.
Okay, so Atlanta, Blackish, Mozart in the Jungle, which won last year, Transparent, which won 2 years ago, right? And then Veep is the 5th nominee. I'm really, really hoping Veep wins, but they just don't like that show at all.
Isn't it amazing that what we were talking about in drama series, where they've got all these new shows to play with, it's the exact opposite on the comedy side. The only new show that they have in there is Atlanta. Everything else, well, actually, excuse me, Blackish is new.
Blackish is new to them.
Yeah, so that is, they just discovered that, but it's old to us.
We told Tracy and Anthony the other night at that party that they were going to, said you're going to be getting in at the Golden Globes and SAG Awards, and Tracy was thrilled, and Anthony said, I said something about being nominated. He said, oh, we're going to win.
Oh.
He didn't care about the nomination. He wanted to win.
They do have as I was doing the tally this morning, they do lead the comedy series nominations with 3. All these other shows only have 2. So
Interesting.
I do feel like this is that apple in the barrel of oranges. Atlanta's the new one. It's the hot one. That's what they're going to go for. And FX, they really have they love FX.
they've shown some love.
Although they may be rewarding FX in the next group of categories we're talking about, and may want to spread the wealth on this side.
Mm-hmm.
They do. It's not just spread the wealth for a show. If you ever look at their ultimate results after an evening, you'll notice they've spread the wealth across networks as well.
Very shady how that happens, huh?
I think it's a conspiracy. I just think they're and maybe if we were in the same situation, maybe we would do the same thing. Where you're looking at it going, oh, I've already given FX these, and I'm debating here. Let's give ABC something, or let's give NBC something, or whoever.
To count on everyone thinking the same way in each category, because you got like 90 some odd members, unless they're, which I guess is entirely possible, but unless they're, all, gathering together and saying, okay, I'm giving the FX love here. All right. So let's all.
Well, I think where that comes into play would be where things are kind of locked, where you're just like, okay, there are People versus OJ is winning for at least that program and Sarah. So if they're thinking that they're voting, if the other people in their group are voting that way as well, then they might be thinking along the same lines, I guess is what I'm saying. It's when it's very very questionable in a category is where they can't really use that logic.
I'm going with Atlanta for comedy and Donald Glover for actor. They do this all the time, whether it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Andy Samberg, or Jeffrey Tambor and Transparent, or Gael Garcia Bernal, or Mojo Jungle. They always
like to pair up.
Lena Dunham, is that her name? And Girls. They just they love this pairing, and that seems like the perfect Globe pairing to me.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then I think,
or could they pair up Veep and Julia?
See, I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like what we're seeing here, and what I have a hunch about, is that we're seeing another Amy Poehler situation where they nominated Parks and Rec almost to justify giving it to Amy finally. And so I have Julia out front to win for Veep. So I'm a little wary about that, but
that happened last year. We following the Amy year, Veep had never gotten in here other than Julia, and suddenly it was nominated for comedy series last year. And we all thought, oh, here we go, Julia's winning comedy actress finally, and she didn't.
Speaking of comedy actress, Chris, I think I have a bone to pick with you, because you told me Rachel Bloom was out and Gina Rodriguez was out. And our buddy Ralph was like, no, Gina's in for sure. They have 6 nominees. They managed to fit both CW ladies in here. This is a crazy category.
Yeah, like Zach was saying, they on the drama side, they threw everybody out. And on the comedy side, they kept people. It's not typical for them to do that. I guess on the male actor side, they only kept 2, Gael and Jeffrey Tambor. And here they kept 1, 2, 3, 4 out of and then they had to create an extra slot. There weren't a lot of ways to go really beyond these 6. I mean, we all thought Minnie Driver might get in because they liked her, a film actress. And I was hoping for Ellie Kemper, but they haven't nominated her before. So Kristen Bell, but that show is not latched on anywhere yet. I thought it would for sure be in a Critics' Choice. So I took her out. So I don't know. They love Sarah Jessica Parker. She's probably won more in the comedy actress side than anybody in history.
But they don't love Divorce. They
didn't nominate that for show.
Church. They could have nominated the show.
Yeah, and then you've got Issa Rae, who could be this year's Rachel Bloom. The show didn't get in for best comedy series, but she's a big breakout star. She created the show. She writes the show. So if it falls in the same way that it did for Rachel Bloom last year, that could be Issa Rae this year.
If Divorce was nominated, I would pick Sarah. If Insecure was nominated, I would pick Issa Rae. But since both shows were snubbed, I'm going with Julie Louis-Dreyfus. I just decided right now. I'm going with.
Well, let me throw out an idea here, which I had not thought about till just now. One other trend with them over the years, for decades, if you have somebody available to choose that's like a Hollywood family legacy type person, Tracy Ellis Ross, daughter of Diana Ross.
Yeah,
that's right.
Blackish is nominated.
They might want to give Blackish something if they give Atlanta and Donald Glover
in a category that just really looks weak. Is not the right word because all these ladies deserve to be there. But I mean, Gina has won, Rachel has won. They don't seem to like Veep. Then they didn't like Divorce or Insecure very much. But Blackish is nominated for series, and here's Diana Ross's daughter.
Mm-hmm. And just they helping to announce the nominees was Laura Dern, 3-time Golden Globe winner, who is the daughter, of course, of Diane Ladd and Bruce Dern. So yeah, they do like their legacies.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think, Zach? Last night at the Critics' Choice, Kate McKinnon won this category for Saturday Night Live, not the supporting, the lead.
Yeah, I had her predicted.
It didn't surprise me that much considering she's probably won that for playing Hillary Clinton, and this was, an election year, lest we forget that something else was going on in the country other than the Golden Globes. But yeah, I mean,
she's the hottest ticket in the world right now in terms of comedy.
Certainly, it didn't help us in predicting.
Well, there's a poll for you, Marcus. Do this poll this week, based off last night's win. Would Kate McKinnon beat Julia Louis-Dreyfus if she was in lead at the next year's Emmys?
I'll do that. I can't wait to see how Veep season 6 stacks up to last season's. Last season of Veep was fantastic. It could go downhill. Julia may not win. Daniel, do you want to size up the movie mini races?
Well, who do you guys have in comedy actor? Oh, Donald Glover. I think we've all got Donald Glover. That's just a lock, right?
I think so, but Anthony Anderson.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out Anthony Anderson. He I think is and I don't know, maybe Nick Nolte, but even then probably not. They do love their movie stars, but I mean, Graves is not a show that anyone is on anyone's radar.
Yeah, I was like, to be honest with you, when they announced that, I was like, wait, Nick Nolte had a show this year? I
was predicting him. We were working with the Epics people, and they said they really had a great meeting or luncheon or dinner or cocktail. I don't know what it was, but with the Graves people, and that they really enjoyed chatting with Nick Nolte. And I went, okay, he's in. He's in, and he was nominated. So
that just totally flew under my radar. But yeah, I do think this is between Donald Glover and Anthony Anderson. I give just a slight edge to Donald Glover, but just slight. Anthony Anderson could win this.
For best movie or limited series, you've got American Crime, The Dresser, The Night Manager, The Night Of, and The People vs. O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story. Speaking of categories, every once in a while you like to have a lock just so you get something right. I don't know how People vs. O.J. Simpson possibly loses this.
Right. It's a done deal, and I think second place is The Night Of, if that means anything.
Well, that was my only concern. There's so many trends with this group, but they don't want to look like fools. So if everybody all year long is rewarding something, they certainly want to be on that bandwagon. But The Night Of hasn't competed at the Emmys yet. Do they want to maybe put that on the radar? I was shocked when it didn't get anything, not even one nomination from the Critics' Choice, because it was so acclaimed.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So that's another reason why I think OJ should be fine here.
And let's not forget that OJ did lead the TV nominations overall with 5.
Yes.
4 acting nominations, which
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And
Don't totally look over Night Manager though. It's the Dresser as well, but it's not going to win. Night Manager is basically a British production, a co-production with America. We saw Wolf Hall that had never won anything in its entire run win this category last year. So
it's in second.
That's not
with 4 noms.
Yeah, that's not totally out of the question. All 3 actors that you would have expected to get in got in.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Night Manager somewhere else.
I think we talk about sweeps and how the Golden Globes don't like sweeping. That sounded weird, but I think OJ's gonna get limited series and Sarah Paulson for actress, but Courtney B. Vance may not be a lock for lead actor, especially with this competition.
I think Sarah's a lock, but you're right. The only one that really doesn't have a chance here to me, because his show isn't up, is Bryan Cranston. And they've rewarded him pretty recently. But the other 4, you can make a case.
I would say it's between 3. It's Vance, and then, is it Riz Ahmed? Is that how you pronounce it? And Tom Hiddleston.
What about John Turturro, though?
I think if they're going to go with the night of, they're going to go with, the main character that you empathize with the whole time.
Okay.
Especially when he's the hot new star. I have him ranked 3rd. I might move him up to. It's so hard with those top 3. I'm already kind of going out on a limb. I think everyone else is probably going to go with Courtney B. Vance, and I've got Hiddleston. One as a place to reward the Night Manager, and I was thinking this even during the nominations. I had him ranked 1st. It's like he feels like the Golden Globes kind of guy.
Is he the Lady Gaga?
That's not fair to Tom Hiddleston, quite. But yeah, he just feels like their kind of guy. He's a cooler kind of actor than a Courtney B. Vance. And you could say the same thing about Riz Ahmed. He's also a cool actor. He's a British actor, which doesn't hurt. So I think it's between those 3. But I'm betting on a hunch that it's going to be Tom Hiddleston, especially because I don't think the Night Manager can win anything else.
I think you're onto something. I think Chris, you were telling me, a couple months ago it could be Tom Hiddleston.
I think I've got him in 1st right now. He's the movie star. He's very charming when he's around people like this, people like anybody. He's very charming to everybody. Not that these other guys aren't, but I think I could see him doing something in the next month to really reach out. And if he's still dating Taylor Swift, then they get to show her reaction shot at the table. They think about stuff like this. They really
They
do.
broke up. Didn't you see that in People magazine, Chris? They broke up.
I did not.
You're not keeping up with the news of the world.
Well, there'll be a new Tom Hiddleston song coming soon then.
I will say, as much as Sarah Paulson is probably a lock, I would watch out for Riley Keough, because it's the whole thing Chris was just talking about the children of celebrities and family royalty. She's related to Elvis.
That's right, yeah.
And
so let's wrap up with
the Golden Globes a lot more than they like them at the Emmys. So
they love stars. Let's wrap up with the supporting ones. Zach, who do you have for supporting actor and supporting actress? And this is all of television. They just combine them all into one group.
I have the people we've been talking about all morning: John Lithgow for The Crown and Thandie Newton for Westworld. Yeah. Just looking at the list, it seems pretty obvious. If there's a spoiler, though, in these categories, I'd say it's John Travolta for People versus O.J. Simpson, and maybe Mandy Moore for This Is Us. They seem like pretty obvious Golden Globe winners.
I love Sterling K. Brown, and he's such a role right now, but I think this is the John Lithgow Award, the supporting one.
Lithgow won for Dexter when he was, they put him in supporting here, even though he's a guest at the Emmys. He won a couple at least for Third Rock from the Sun. They like him a lot.
Yeah, I had Sterling in there as soon as I made my predictions, and then I'm just looking at the list and I'm hearing all the, you guys convinced me. I moved John Lithgow up to number 1.
Hugh Laurie's the only one of 2 people to ever win Drama Actor twice in the last 35 years at the Globes. John Hamm's now the other one. He won back to back for House, so they like him a lot. He's the only non-American in the group. The only one I think that can't win supporting actor is Christian Slater, just because he won last year.
And he was hardly in this season too, to be honest.
John Travolta, I said way back in the summer, he won't win the Emmy, but he'll win or back around September, but he'll win the Globe. You look out, he'll win the Globe. He's the biggest film star in that group. I do wonder on Sterling if, especially now that we've seen that they love This Is Us, they're not going to divorce their minds from the fact that he's in both. Even though he's only nominated here for this, they might think this is a way to kind of honor This Is Us. As well.
I've got Sterling in second. I don't buy this Travolta thing. I have John Lithgow in first and Sterling in second. And I would say to the Golden Globes producers, get Sterling on your stage to present something. He is such a class act, and he's going to be a big star someday. So you can get him now before he becomes too big for you.
Well, there's no such thing as too big for them, because as soon as if a TV star gets big and becomes a movie star, they have other categories for that.
And then if Tandy Newton loses, I think she loses to Lena Headey. I think don't they want to be the first to reward Lena Headey? No one else has given her a trophy.
They don't care. I honestly have Lena Headey in fourth place. I think if it's not Tandy Newton, I think it's either Mandy Moore, one of the breakout stars of the hot new show, who, like Lady Gaga, is a musician turned actor.
It's really the lead.
Kind of, well, it's this kind of ensemble show, kind of like a dramatic Modern Family, where it's hard to call any of them strictly a lead. But then, and then in third place, I think, who also has a shot, Olivia Colman. She could win this too. This year, they could have gone with Game of Thrones in a big way, but this year they didn't really show that they cared about it that much. Although, that said, you never know. You have those years where they finally catch up to a Joanne Froggatt or a Frances Conroy for 6 Feet Under kind of later in the show's run, when you're not really expecting it. So it doesn't look like there's a reason to give it to Lena Headey this year if no one else has, especially since they don't like Game of Thrones. But I guess I wouldn't completely rule it out.
Tandy is probably the biggest movie star in the group.
Yeah.
They like to go that route sometimes. That's why I knew John Voight was going to win a couple of years ago. I think it's Tandy or Mandy. That's a good show for Lifetime. Tandy and Mandy.
Anyone have any final thoughts?
I think they did really well.
I was very
when I was writing down snubs or people I thought might have gotten in, I didn't write too many down. Benedict Cumberbatch, that was a little bit of a surprise. No Anthony Hopkins on either project he had.
That was insane. That and Kit Harington.
Both are nominated for Best Program. Neither of them got Hopkins a nomination.
Kiefer Sutherland. 3 of Taraji, Viola, and Tatiana Maslany all gone. But that's the way they are with TV. Honestly, I kind of like it better. I would rather, I like the fact that they are always welcoming new. I like their nominees usually on TV better than SAG. SAG.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly opposite. If you're not predicting who was in last year, you're being a fool.
All right. Well, everyone go to Gold Derby and make your predictions right now. We'll see you next time.